Well, this is what I call lamb's quarters, and in that photograph right here, this is when I would be harvesting it and eating it, and my grandmother would be picking the leaves off and drying them for soup in the wintertime. Valuable food. In French, we used to call it chou de gras, which in English means fat cabbage. And it's basically, to me, from the cabbage family. The texture of the leaves are like a cabbage, and it's very good food. And once you plant one of these plants around, if you have that growing around your garden, as long as you till the soil once in a while, you'll have this growing forever. It's always going to take advantage of open soil.
Is that chicory root?
Yeah, this could be chicory root, or all the lettuce families, the wild lettuces have the purplish blue flowers the same way. Just like earlier in my backyard, looking at the lettuce with the purple flowers, the blue flowers like that. Those flowers are edible. That's from the lettuce family or chicory root family. Oh, this is lamb quarters when they get fully seeded up. The seeds are all up on there, and I would be waiting now just a little bit of time. I'd watch the birds, and as soon as those plants had birds coming to them, and maybe it was a frost and the seeds turn a little purplish, I would be raking them off the seeds, letting them dry out, and you got an amazing feast there. It grows wild here everywhere. We use that as tea.
Yeah.
For fevers and...
Can you eat them just straight?
No, you can't eat that.
But you can make a tea.
You can make a tea from it, but I wouldn't eat it.
It's interesting how you can make a tea. You can't eat it, but you can make a tea, which is the same as eating in a way.
I know, but you see, when it heats up, the toxin can't handle the heat, so it dissipates off. And then the good nutrient is infused in the water, and you can take it in as a liquid, but you can't eat that. No. This is yarrow, good for fevers, colds, flus. You can't eat it, but it's a good plant.
Well, how do you use it for colds and flus?
You'd make it as a tea. You could probably make it in a salve by putting it in some oil and putting it on someone's chest, but mostly historically documented, and the way I was taught is use it as a tea. This again is colt's foot, again used for chest infections, pneumonia, that type of thing, made as a tea.
But don't eat it.
Don't eat it. You can't eat it. Those look like pin cherries to me. It's a cherry leaf on the branch, and you see the individual cherries on there. Those are edible, very valuable, high in quercetin. Very good tree to have around your house. Okay, if you look at the cluster of this plant, I know it looks like blueberries and junipers and back and forth, and the leaf is shiny and silver, but when you look at the cluster, it looks like almost it grows like a vine where the fruit is in like a grape form, all attached in a big cluster, and it looks like bunches of grapes. That does not look like blueberries.
Blueberries don't grow like that?
No, blueberries do not grow like that at all.
So this is a questionable caution plant.
It would be questionable, and you know, if the local people say it's poisonous, you'd have to do some testing.
Are blueberry leaves shiny like that?
No, blueberry leaves are dull.
And
they're green, but they're dull.
Do they have jagged edges like that?
No, they're smooth edges. This looks like barley or rye grass of some form, and I wouldn't be afraid to eat that.
But it's got gluten.
That doesn't matter. It's growing wild. The gluten is going to be very limited in this. Most gluten in grains is because the grains have been hybridized and processed to the point where they genetically splice them to make them richer in gluten because they're using the gluten commercially. You know, corn has so much sugar in it today. It never had sugar in it when Europeans came to North America. Corn was colored in multicolors, facets. All grains never had that much cornstarch or gluten in them. They weren't naturally in the environment like that. It's through genetic modification they've made them, and picking out only certain varieties of seed and just keep splicing them together. But I wouldn't be afraid to that. To me, it looks like rye or some type of barley.
So you'd have to soak it or bake or grind it and bake it? Or
yeah. To me, this looks like garden sorrel. It's a variety of sorrel that comes from Europe, and people cultivate it in their gardens. It's got a bitter, sour taste to it. They used to use it during the war in place of lemons because they didn't have lemons when they were eating fish and stuff like that. That's what it looks like to me, garden sorrel.